In the quiet rhythm of old age, there is a beauty that often goes unnoticed, a grace that whispers rather than shouts, a richness that comes not from abundance, but from absence, the absence of clutter, the absence of noise, the absence of unnecessary complexity. In youth, life rushes forward with the urgency of ambition, the hunger to acquire, to explore, to conquer. But as the years accumulate like autumn leaves slowly falling, a different wisdom begins to grow, a wisdom rooted not in what one can add, but in what one can let go. The beauty of simplicity in old age is not something that arrives overnight. It unfolds slowly, gently, like the morning light through half-drawn curtains. It is found in the silence of early dawn when the world has not yet stirred and the soul can finally breathe. It is discovered in the gentle rituals of everyday life, the warmth of a well-worn chair, the taste of morning tea, the feel of the sun on one's skin. These small things, once overlooked, become anchors of meaning, moments of peace in a world that never learned how to be still. Simplicity is not about deprivation, it is about clarity. It is about knowing what matters and letting go of what doesn't. It is about having fewer possessions but deeper relationships, fewer distractions but greater focus, fewer ambitions but stronger purpose. In youth, we believe that happiness lies in more success, more recognition, more money, more excitement. But in old age, we begin to see that happiness often lies in less noise, less pressure, less competition, less expectation. A walk becomes more meaningful than a race, a handwritten letter more precious than 1,000 digital messages. A conversation more satisfying than 100 likes. Simplicity allows us to truly listen, not just to others, but to ourselves, to nature, to the present moment. When life slows down, the heartbeat of the world becomes audible, and we begin to realize that all the answers we were chasing were always within us, waiting for silence to be heard. The beauty of simplicity in old age is not merely in what it brings, but in what it reveals. It reveals the quiet strength of patience, the deep power of presence, the profound joy of gratitude. It teaches us that the most valuable things cannot be bought. They are grown slowly over time, nurtured through attention and love. It shows us that being is more important than doing, that sitting beside someone in silence can say more than 1,000 words, that a single act of kindness can echo louder than any grand achievement. In simplicity, we reconnect with the sacred rhythm of life, with the seasons, the cycles, the natural ebb and flow. We learn that not every moment must be filled, that space is not emptiness, but potential. A room without noise is not lonely, but peaceful. An hour without plans is not wasted, but free. As we age, our bodies may slow, our memories may fade, our roles in society may change. But in simplicity, we find a timeless identity, a self not tied to what we do or what we own, but to who we are at our core. Old age strips away the non-essential like a sculptor revealing the form within the stone. What remains is raw, real, honest. We learn to value depth over breadth, meaning over novelty, presence over performance. We come to cherish the beauty of ordinary things, the laughter of grandchildren, the scent of baking bread, the comfort of familiar paths. There is power in this simplicity, a kind of quiet rebellion against a world obsessed with speed and spectacle. It takes courage to slow down, to say no to chaos, to live deliberately. Simplicity in old age is not a retreat, it is a return to what we always needed but were too distracted to notice. It is a homecoming to ourselves, to the gentle truth that less is often more, that silence can be symphonic, that stillness can move us more deeply than motion. We begin to recognize that peace is not something to be pursued, it is something to be uncovered beneath the layers of noise we have accumulated over a lifetime. The old man sitting quietly on a park bench, the old woman tending her garden with care. They are not doing less. They are doing what matters most. They are listening, watching. Being in a world that constantly demands more, they have chosen enough. And in that enough, they have found contentment, joy, beauty. The simplicity of old age is a form of wisdom, not the kind found in books, but the kind learned through living, through heartbreak and healing, through success and failure, through love and loss. It is the wisdom that comes when we stop striving and start seeing, when we stop chasing and start appreciating, when we stop judging and start accepting. We learn to live with fewer regrets because we have fewer illusions. We stop trying to change what cannot be changed and start embracing. We stop holding on so tightly and begin to release. We give more freely, love more openly, forgive more easily. We become softer, not weaker, quieter, not emptier, simpler, not smaller. And in that simplicity, we become more fully alive. We discover that aging is not a decline, but a deepening of presence, of purpose, of peace. The beauty of simplicity in old age is the beauty of a tree in winter, bare, but not dead, still, but not lifeless, reduced, but not diminished. Its essence revealed, its form made clear, its strength shown in its stillness. We learn to embrace the cycles of life, to honor the endings as much as the beginnings, to find meaning, not just in creation but in reflection, not just in doing but in being. The old are often the wisest, not because they know more facts, but because they have let go of more illusions. They no longer need to prove themselves. They no longer seek to impress. They have traded performance for authenticity, and in doing so, they become beacons of what it truly means to live. We look at their lives and we see not lack but light, not loss but love, not limits but liberation. They remind us that the beauty of life is not in its complexity, but in its simplicity, that happiness is not in constant stimulation, but in quiet satisfaction, that the richest life is often the simplest one. We begin to understand that less is not emptiness, but clarity, not scarcity, but abundance, not loneliness, but solitude. In simplicity, we find ourselves, we find each other, we find peace. The clutter of the world falls away, and what remains is essential, beautiful, enduring. And so as we grow older, we do not fade. We shine not in blinding flashes, but in steady, gentle light, the kind that warms rather than burns, the kind that lasts, the kind that reveals what was always true all along, that life was never meant to be complicated, that love was never meant to be earned, that peace was never meant to be distant, that beauty was never meant to be rare. In the simplicity of old age, we remember what we had forgotten. We rediscover what we always knew. We return to what we truly are. And in that return, we find a beauty that is quiet and deep and everlasting. As we continue walking through the quiet meadows of old age, the path becomes clearer, the distractions fewer, and the heart grows more attuned to the subtle music of life. What once felt like mundane repetition now becomes sacred rhythm. The rising of the sun each morning becomes a celebration, the rustle of leaves in the afternoon breeze, a gentle reminder of the ever-present grace that surrounds us. The simplicity we now embrace is not imposed by limitation, but chosen with intention. It is a simplicity that speaks to the soul, that offers a kind of freedom we never knew we needed. Freedom from the race, the noise, the pressure to be more, do more, have more. Now we realize that we always had enough, that enough was not about what we held in our hands, but what we held in our hearts. Old age invites us to become minimalists of the spirit, to travel light, carrying only the essentials: love, compassion, presence, gratitude. These are the treasures that do not fade with time. They do not rust or break or disappear. They grow stronger with use, more vibrant with each passing year. We begin to measure wealth not by bank accounts, but by the depth of our connections, the sincerity of our laughter, the peace we feel in silence, the joy we find in simply being alive. Simplicity allows us to savor life, not gulp it, to experience each moment fully rather than rush to the next. It gives us permission to slow down, to notice, to feel deeply, to cry freely, to laugh without restraint. It allows us to be real without masks or pretenses. We are no longer trying to impress. We are simply trying to express who we truly are, what we truly love, what we truly believe in. The beauty of simplicity in old age is reflected in the way we no longer chase trends, but follow truths, the way we no longer accumulate but curate. We keep what matters and let go of what doesn't. We hold tightly to kindness and release bitterness. We treasure stories, not status. We build legacies, not empires. And in this letting go, we are not losing. We are gaining space for joy, for rest, for reflection, for wonder. We rediscover the art of conversation, unhurried, unfiltered, filled with wisdom and warmth. We find pleasure in old books, well-used tools, familiar recipes, walks with no destination, and time spent doing nothing in particular, because now we understand that doing nothing is not a waste. It is a gift, a rare space where creativity and clarity can arise, where healing can happen, where the heart can breathe, the noise of the world fades, and we find ourselves listening to the gentle voice within, a voice that says, "You are enough. You have always been enough in youth." We often feared aging, feared the wrinkles, the slowing down, the perceived irrelevance. But now within the simplicity of our days, we see aging not as a decline, but as an elevation, a movement toward the essence, toward truth, toward a kind of lightness that can only come when the burdens of performance are set down. We find strength not in muscle, but in resilience, in the capacity to endure, to forgive, to understand. We find beauty not in symmetry, but in sincerity, not in perfection, but in presence. We smile more, not because everything is perfect, but because we have learned to see the perfection in everything. We have come to appreciate the pauses between the words, the stillness between the storms, the spaces between the notes, and in those spaces we hear a deeper melody, the song of life itself, a song that grows more beautiful, the quieter we become. Simplicity is not about going back, it is about going deeper, deeper into meaning, deeper into peace, deeper into ourselves. And with each passing year, we grow more fluent in the language of the soul. A language spoken not with words, but with silence, presence, compassion, a gentle touch, a kind gaze, an honest tear. We begin to understand that what we leave behind is not what we built, but how we made others feel. The impact of a life well lived is not in its noise, but in its depth, not in its height, but in its roots. Simplicity teaches us to root ourselves deeply in the things that last: faith, love, service, joy, nature, laughter, memories shared around tables, stories passed between generations, hands held through fear and hope. Simplicity slows us down enough to remember what matters, to see the divine in the ordinary. To find magic in the mundane, we begin to notice the beauty in wrinkles, in worn hands, and slow steps. Because they tell stories of love-given battles, fought, wisdom earned, they are not signs of decay, but badges of honor, marks of a life deeply lived, fully felt, richly human. We no longer envy the young, we bless them. We no longer compete, we celebrate. We no longer chase, we welcome. We no longer resist, we accept. We have come to trust the flow of life, the ebb and tide, the blooming and fading, the hello and goodbye. And in that trust we are free, truly free, not because we have control, but because we have surrendered to the beauty of what is. We begin to walk more slowly, not out of weakness, but out of reverence for the moment. We listen more intently, not because we must, but because we know how precious every voice is. We love more fiercely, not in grand declarations, but in quiet constancy. We hold on not with clenched fists, but open hands. Simplicity teaches us that love is not loud. It is steady, that wisdom is not flashy. It is quiet. That meaning is not found in more, but in less distraction, more presence, less clutter, more clarity, less fear, more acceptance. And in that less we find more peace, more depth, more joy, more light. We understand that the soul does not age. It deepens, and that the beauty of simplicity is the path that allows it to deepen fully unencumbered. In old age, we become like old trees, rooted, grounded, still, offering shade and shelter, fruit and beauty, wisdom and peace. We do not need to prove our worth, we simply are. And in that being, we give more than words ever could. We learn to bless with our presence, to uplift with our listening, to heal with our understanding. We become mirrors of what is possible when life is lived from the inside out. Not in pursuit of noise, but in pursuit of truth. Not in the race to the top, but in the journey to the center. Simplicity in old age is not a small life. It is an expansive one. A life that touches the eternal, that sees the sacred in all things, that moves not with urgency, but with purpose, not with frenzy, but with grace. It is a life lived wide awake, where every sip of tea, every ray of sunlight, every shared smile is a prayer, a celebration, a thanksgiving. And so we carry on, not with regret, but with reverence, not with fear, but with faith, not with heaviness, but with light. And in doing so, we become examples of what it means to live well, to grow wise, to age beautifully, to simplify, not to diminish life, but to reveal its essence, its truth, its everlasting radiance. In the final unfolding of a life well lived, simplicity becomes not only a comfort, but a compass pointing toward a deeper kind of richness that no material possession can offer. As we step fully into the later years, we begin to understand that the things we spent decades chasing rarely brought us the fulfillment we longed for. They were milestones, distractions, lessons, yes, but the contentment that settles into our bones now is something different. It is quiet, profound, and movable. It is the kind of peace that cannot be shaken by the chaos of the world or the passage of time, because it is rooted not in what we have, but in who we have become. Old age has a way of peeling back the layers of identity, the titles, the roles, the expectations, and what remains is a raw, honest self, someone who no longer performs for approval but simply lives with authenticity. We no longer need to be everything to everyone. We are content being everything we are to the few who truly matter. Our circles grow smaller but deeper, our connections fewer but more sacred. The conversations we share are slower, more meaningful, rich with memory and seasoned with truth. We no longer rush to fill silence because we understand now that silence is not empty. It is full of wisdom, full of presence, full of the unspoken love that exists between people who have walked through life together. Simplicity teaches us to value moments not for their excitement, but for their essence. A simple meal shared, a familiar song played on an old radio, the smell of rain on dry earth. These are no longer background details. They are the story, they are what makes life whole. We no longer need grand adventures to feel alive, because we see now that the adventure is in awareness. The aliveness is in appreciation. Every breath, every heartbeat, every sunrise becomes a miracle, not because they are rare, but because we finally notice them. We become students of the now, apprentices to presence. Every day becomes a classroom, every encounter a teacher, and with each passing day we are refined, not diminished like gold in the fire. We emerge purer, clearer, simpler. The world outside may continue to scream more, but we smile softly and whisper enough. And in that declaration, we claim a kind of power that youth cannot comprehend, the power of contentment, the strength of surrender, the freedom of letting go. We understand now that life is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. And the beauty of simplicity is that it allows us to live it fully without the burden of constant striving. We walk into each day with open hands and open hearts, not because we are naive, but because we are wise enough to know that control is an illusion and presence is everything we have seen, how quickly things can change, how love can appear and vanish, how health can shift, how the unexpected always comes. And instead of fighting it, we now welcome it. We welcome change, we welcome aging, we welcome even the hard moments, because we have learned that all of it is part of the great tapestry. And simplicity helps us see the pattern. It helps us see how even the pain had purpose, how even the detours led somewhere meaningful, how even the silence spoke truth. We no longer fear being forgotten, because we know now that the most unforgettable people are not those who shouted the loudest, but those who loved the deepest, those who showed up consistently, those who gave freely, those who lived simply and sincerely, and left behind a legacy not of possessions but of presence. We understand now that our stories live on, not in headlines, but in hearts and the recipes we passed down, in the kindness we offered, in the way we made people feel safe, heard, valued, loved. The simplicity of old age brings clarity to legacy. And we begin to ask, not what can I leave behind, but who have I become, who have I helped, who have I healed, who have I loved? These are the questions that matter, and simplicity creates the space to ask them and the courage to answer them honestly. We stop measuring success by accumulation and begin measuring it by alignment. Are we living in alignment with what matters? Are we saying yes to what feeds our soul and no to what drains it? Are we choosing people over pride, peace over pressure, love over illusion? We learn to forgive faster, to judge less, to listen more, to bless the journey, not just the destination, to honor our scars, not as flaws, but as evidence of healing, to wear our age, not with shame, but with reverence, because every wrinkle, every gray hair, every softened muscle is a testament to survival, to growth, to grace. We become storytellers, not of facts, but of feelings, passing down, not just knowledge, but understanding, helping those who come after us see the beauty not only in our successes, but in our simplicity. We sit with younger souls and tell them it's okay not to have it all figured out. It's okay to slow down. It's okay to let go. It's okay to rest, because life is not a contest. It's a canvas, and every gentle stroke of simplicity adds depth and beauty to the masterpiece we are painting. We begin to live more slowly, not because we must, but because we want to, because we finally understand that rushing is a thief, that urgency robs us of wonder, that the fastest route is rarely the most meaningful. We choose the scenic path, the long conversation, the handwritten letter, the unhurried afternoon. We seek texture, not efficiency, warmth, not perfection, depth, not drama. We find ourselves becoming more tender, more open, more available to beauty in all its forms, in the kindness of a stranger, in the resilience of nature. In the wisdom of our own mistakes, we laugh more freely because we know the cost of taking life too seriously. We cry more openly because we are no longer afraid to feel, and in that vulnerability, we find strength in that softness. We find power in that simplicity. We find truth. We are not giving up. We are growing deeper, not retreating, but rooting, not dimming, but burning with a quieter, more enduring flame. The flame of knowing who we are, what we love, and what we choose to carry forward, and what we now gladly set down the burdens, the masks, the fear, the need to prove. We have carried them long enough, and now we walk lighter, freer, more present. We do not look to the future with dread, but with reverence, with hope. Not because we know what's coming, but because we trust ourselves to meet it with grace. The beauty of simplicity in old age is not just in what it gives us, but in who it allows us to become, not just in the ease it brings, but in the essence it reveals. And so we end not with noise, but with a whisper, not with a bang, but with a blessing, not with a checklist, but with a quiet smile, and the deep soul-level knowing that we have lived truly, fully, and beautifully in the way that only simplicity can teach. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories and life-changing insights. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a moment that could inspire your journey. Your support means everything. Thank you for being part of this community.